Yes, good evening to you, Patrick. Fresh strike action has been confirmed this evening outside the RMT offices, and I'm joined by the RMT General Secretary, Mick Lynch, who is with me now. Mick, tell us about the context of this. You had very intensive talks in the past 2 weeks. You have now announced another set of strikes. Why has it come to this?
Well, we've been in intensive talks with Network Rail, and they're still going on, no new offer. And we were in intensive talks with what's called the Rail Delivery Group on behalf of the train operators. Yesterday they pulled the plug on those talks with 1 hour's notice, phoned me up and said, we cannot meet with you, we are not allowed to make you any offers in this dispute. So we've got, after 6 months, no offers from the train operating companies and an old offer from Network Rail that's been rejected. So we have to keep this dispute alive. Our members have voted very heavily in favour of a new mandate to take strike action, and we're putting that on now. We're going to avoid strike action over the Christmas festive period. So there's 2 blocks of 48-hour strikes in early and mid-December, and then in early January when we come back in the new year. So we've got to show that we're serious. We're fully intended on getting a settlement, and we'll be back at the table whenever we're invited. I'll be meeting with the Secretary of State this Thursday and putting to him that he needs to create an atmosphere and create a sense of goodwill where we can get a settlement. But at the moment, I believe the government has halted these talks based on their political agenda because they want to see this dispute going on into the new year.
8 days of strikes since June, Mick Lynch, and now another set of strikes that you've announced today. We are in a cost of living crisis. You are affecting people that cannot get to work, who are perhaps on an hourly wage, who are losing multiple days of income this year. Do you think you still have public support?
I think we have a lot of public support. Everywhere I go, people are saying keep going. The public want us to win and get a result from this dispute. We could have had an offer on the table this afternoon. I told my national executive that an offer would be formulated on Monday afternoon, and somebody at the Department for Transport stopped that from happening. That was a deliberate act of industrial vandalism and political vandalism, I believe. For what reason, I don't know.
What evidence do you have of that?
Because one of the most senior people in this industry, Steve Montgomery, phoned me up on Saturday morning and said, get round the table on Monday afternoon. We will put an offer to you on Monday in writing covering jobs, conditions and pay. He phoned me up at 1 o'clock yesterday and said, I can't do that. They won't let me make an offer. Now, I don't know the reasons for that. I sense the reasons are that the government are in disarray. They don't really know how to handle this industrial dispute. They've got all these other problems with public sector pay and the state of the economy. We've seen their performance in a series of mini budgets which have been disastrous for working people and for the economy. So I'm going to try and find out on Thursday from the Secretary of State exactly what he's up to. Everybody in the industry knows how to create a settlement to this dispute, management, trade unions and employees. If he's prepared to be a person of goodwill and create that atmosphere where we can develop a settlement, that could happen very quickly and we'll have no need for any strikes. We can put it to our members and see if they want to accept the package. At the moment, I'm not hopeful because I don't know if they're competent enough to create that atmosphere.
OK, so meeting on Thursday with Mark Harper, who is the Secretary of State for Transport. As you just heard there from Mick Lynch, General Secretary of the RMT, he is not hopeful that talk will come to any resolution. Patrick, I believe that you have a question for Mick Lynch.
Yeah, sorry, no, I just was going to say, look, I completely understand Mick saying that there's widespread public support, as far as he would say, for what he's doing, but I'm keen for the public to try to understand what pay offer is Mick Lynch after? What pay rise does he want for members of the RMT? Because we could do with knowing that if we're going to support it or otherwise.
So Patrick is asking Mick Lynch, in terms of public support, in order for the public to support you or to decide whether they support you or not, they need to know what the offer is on the table. What would you be willing to accept?
Well, I will negotiate with the companies. It's my job to get around the table with senior people and negotiate. We haven't got any offer at all. After 6 months, the train operating companies have not made an offer. And in fact, they're now taking legal cases to say to me they cannot bargain in this dispute. The Rail Delivery Group do not negotiate and the train operating companies do not negotiate. So they're in disarray. Network Rail have made us an offer of 4% for this year and 4% for next year, but nothing for last year. So 8% over 3 years when inflation is already over 14.5%. They also want a series of job cuts and conditions changes that we can't accept. So it's underpaid and underpowered as an offer. They know that. They know they've got to offer more, but I believe they're being stopped from making that offer by the government.
So if you want pay rises in line with inflation, you're looking at a pay rise of at least 11.1% for every worker. I mean, can you not see that that alone would be inflationary?
Well, we've never used those numbers. This deal in Network Rail should have been done on January the 1st this year, and in fact January the 1st last year, and there have been a number of inflation measures during that period. We know we've got to be realistic and there will be a compromise. So we know where inflation is, and that just proves how puny the offers they've given to us have been. They know that. They know that this will be a real terms pay cut. You'll have less money at the supermarket and when you're paying your mortgage and rents than you had last year, in effect, because of inflation. That inflation has been created by this government to a large extent, and they've done nothing to help working people to resolve that. So we will get a deal that's based on the three elements: jobs, pay and conditions. But we haven't got an offer that we can even put to our members. This is what people have got to realise, and even the commentators such as Patrick and yourselves, there is no offer for half the people in this dispute. And so that is not reasonable after 6 months of intense talkings to have no product from people who are meant to be serious politicians and professional business people.
Are you calling on other sectors to strike?
I'm calling on other sectors to campaign. There are lots of strike ballots coming through from the education sector, from the health sector, and even in the private sector and other transport sectors, such as bus workers in London this week. I think the trade union movement has a duty to make the most of these mandates, to synchronise and coordinate that action, to put the employers and the governments under a lot of pressure to relieve this cost of living crisis on working people.
Would you support a general strike?
I'll support a generalised action. I can't call a general strike, that's up to the TUC, but I think we can coordinate and synchronise that action across many sectors, public and private, to maximise working class influence on the debate in this country.
Mr. Lynch, thank you very much for your time. Well, Patrick, you heard there from Mick Lynch outlining his reasons, the RMT's reasons why they've confirmed this new set of strike 48-hour periods, the 13th and 14th of December, the 16th and 17th of December. That's 4 days in 1 week. That's the week before Christmas, when many people will be out Christmas shopping, seeing relatives. That will now be disrupted. And the first week of January, the 3rd and 4th of January, and the 6th and 7th of January. Those dates are Friday and Saturday, which we know post-COVID are the busiest periods on our rail network. So lots of disruptions for businesses, for commuters, for families who are looking to see their relatives over the festive period.